Hi, my friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and today's topic is about 10 very easy techniques, easy but effective, which even beginners can use because sometimes in astrology we start using so many complicated techniques and we miss the gist and we miss something that's so obvious because, we go into those complex techniques rather than remembering the foundations, the easy things. And today I'm talking here with my guest. Vic Dicara. Many of you know him. He has his own YouTube channel. I'm personally a fan of him and have followed him for many years and have learned a lot from him. He is the scholar and a very, very interesting person, very deep into astrology. His insight into astrology are amazing. I mean, you can't find such insights anywhere else because I think you meditate. Hi, Vic.
Hi,
Sorry,
thank
I
you.
started talking and forget to introduce you. Can you?
Thank you. Hi.
So I wanted to ask you something because the things that you write about and the videos that you make and the information that you give, it's so very different. And you just take a text from an ancient, like one line from an ancient text, and you go in depth on it, and you get to such insights and wisdom in regards to it. How do you do that? Do you read it somewhere? Do you meditate on it?
Um, I think maybe a lot. First of all, thank you so much. I mean, but I think a lot of it is owed to the teachers that I had. Like, of course, not specifically astrology teachers, but the kind of people that I was exposed to, like great people like Madhvacharya, like these great Indian philosophers. That's how they would deal with texts. They would really treat every word with such respect and go into each word in such detail in each sentence and everything. And then the other thing is my chart, the most prominent planet is Jupiter in Shatabishak. And if you look at the sutra for Shatabishak, it's that it has the ability to take abstract things and make them concrete.
Yes, exactly. That's what I've noticed. You take like part of a poem from the Vedas or from the ancient astrology text, and it makes no meaning. It has no meaning for me. But you extract the essence of it and you present it in a practical and easy to digest way. And guys, watch his videos on the nakshatras, and he's got so many videos. But this is one thing that I was so impressed when I watched them. So you take it and you dissect it yourself. You
Yeah.
interpret. All right, that's a
The
good.
thing is, it's like if a person, like if you decide that this person, if you have like a something in Sanskrit called shraddha or like a faith, that like this person is cool. I want to get to know this person. Then the way that you'll interact with that person is totally different than if your basic shraddha is, this person is not cool, right? So if your basic shraddha towards like a statement is, there must be some meaning in this. This is an important thing. Some sages wrote this, then the way that you interact with it is so much more patient and so much more respectful and deep. So you study it, you kind of almost like pray to it, or, you wait for it. You have to wait for things to, you can't just squash things. Like a lot of people have an approach towards knowledge or learning, which is so masculine. They won't wait for anything and they squeeze things out of, they like dissect the thing and make the thing reveal itself to you.
Mhm.
But it doesn't work that way with sacred things. Sacred things are superior to us.
So you kind of have to woo it like a woman.
Yeah. You have to woo it and you have to prove to it that you are worthy of getting its treasures,
Wow, I'm getting
right?
goosebumps. I think I have a masculine approach to this. But no,
Well,
yeah, I'll sit with the thought and I'll think about it up till I get so sick, and suddenly the answer will come after thinking about it, and then I leave it and it pops out maybe a week down the line. So that's almost like meditative state of some sort
yeah.
happens. But thank you for sharing that because I always wondered, and I was like, where's he reading those things from? But it seems they arise from you, from the, and it seems they gave that wisdom in like Nostradamus in a veiled way. They didn't want it to be
Uh,
like out there for people. They had this also feminine approach to
oh
knowledge.
yeah. 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 Maybe I have read things too. It's also like that's the technique of Shatabishak, is to pull abstract things together, to pull many different things together. So like I've studied a lot of different things that other people haven't studied, that are outside of astrology or behind astrology, just in the general Vedic text. So I can pull things in
And
And
they start more. Yes, it's more like an encyclopedic knowledge that not just different chapters, but you kind of extract the essence of them and connect them somehow.
yeah, I like this interview. The topic is great.
Well, that's what fascinated me about you. One of the things I wanted to know. So, okay, let's start.
Okay.
After this introduction, and Vic is a Vedic astrologer, but he uses tropical zodiac, and he's a scholar. He translates the ancient Sanskrit text, and his translations prove that they were using tropical zodiac. So, obviously, the Vedic uh, techniques that he's going to share with us are perfect to use with tropical zodiac. Actually, they were meant for it. And also sidereal nakshatras, but that's a different matter. So anyway, thank you. Go ahead. You start with the first easy and simple technique.
Okay, the first easiest, simplest technique is just to know what everything really is before you start using it. Um, like for example, what is Mercury? What does Mercury like really represent and not represent? And the thing is, everybody will be like, "Oh yeah, check. I know that. I did that. I did. I know that. Let's go to what's the second thing, Vic? Right?" But like I've told other people in interviews, like, "Where did you learn astrology?" That kind of question, or "Who's your guru? Who's your astrology teacher?" My answer is, well, I didn't really get inspired that anybody. I didn't
Mm.
really get inspired that I would learn something directly from one person because I didn't get inspired that anybody really knew it. And this is one of the key points. Like, actually, I don't think really almost anybody really has this first thing really, really down. Like, what exactly does the sun represent and why? Why does it represent my boss and also represents my heart
So it
and
comes
my health?
deep again on things to
Yeah.
the same approach.
Get it so clear because you're going to be working with mushing all these guys together
Hmm.
all the time. You're going to be, what is Sagittarius and why? Because if you only learn what it is, then you only learn that thing that you learned. But if you learn why it is what it is, then you can learn what it might be in any context.
Yes.
And then, so once you get that deep, deep fundamentals of the planets, the signs, and the houses, and if you're going to use nakshatras, of course, nakshatras too, then you practically don't even need any techniques or anything. You just look at Mercury in Virgo or Mercury in Libra, and just stuff starts to happen in your
Yeah,
mind.
for example, if I ask someone, what rules the hairs in your nose? No one would know, but someone who has thought deeply about the planets will start thinking, what rules the nose?
Yeah,
What's the nation? What is not, and they would come up with. So that's the philosophical approach. You need to know the deep why something represents that. Think on that.
yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
What do you think? What's the first most important for you?
Sorry?
What about for you? What's the first most important?
Yes, I'm a very technical person, so I was gonna say that I was gonna start directly with the technical things, but that's
Good.
perfect point that you made, and I'm gonna build on top of that. And I'm gonna remind people to check just if they have more of the female or the male signs in their horoscopes. This is such a simple technique. And I want you to check basically from your ascendant till Saturn. Use the traditional ones, the visible ones. They rule visible things in our life, and and give most attention to the ascendant sun and moon and the ascendant lord, and have the points to the other planets after that up to Saturn. That's a simple system, for example, to assess. But see which are in female signs and how many you have in female and how many you have in male. That can give you a very simple understanding of your approach to life. When there are more female planets in the horoscope, usually your best strategy for life is to wait and to respond to what's happening and then to take opportunity when it comes. That's the female way, even if you're a man. And if circumstances around you are not good or difficult, make yourself feel better first, because feminine needs to feel good within, and then respond, and then wait to the circumstances around you to improve, and then start acting on things. Well, if you're predominantly masculine, your strategy for life should be, when you're you to take the initiatives, you to make approaches, and usually it comes not more natural to you as well. So that's one of the first things to see. I always look at that.
Yeah, that's cool. I was the whole time you were talking, I was counting in my head my chart. What would you say, like 2 points for ascendant, 2 points for moon, and then 1 point for every other planet?
For ascendant, moon, sun, and even for the ascendant ruler,
For
I'll give two. And
Okay.
then for every, that's something that I constructed in my hand because I always see those as very prominent, those
Yeah.
4 points. And for example, I'm all masculine, so I'm always
Really?
go, go, go. And it's very hard for me to rest and relax. This feminine energy, I don't have it. And I have to consciously remind myself of that as well. But
Mm.
it's, yeah, so, but just knowing that, I know that things are not gonna fall in my lap, and I need to go after things, because this is the masculine energy, it goes
Yeah.
after things. I went after my husband, I went after my business, and
Yeah.
a lot of people are balanced, which is great. I envy them.
Yeah.
So
Do you wanna
thank
know my
you.
count?
Sure. Sorry?
Do you wanna know my count?
Yes. What is it?
Let me think. I have to visualize my chart. So it's 4 points. It's 2 points for the ascendant, so that's female. It's 2 points for the moon, so that's 4 points female, right? And then it's the ascendant lord is in Taurus, so that's 6 points
Oh,
female. What's the next thing?
the sun.
Sun is Leo, so
Okay.
that's 2 points male. I got 2 other planets in Leo, so that's another 4 points.
Yes.
Venus in Virgo, so that puts 7 in female,
Uh,
and Jupiter in Libra, so that puts 5 in male. So 7 to 5.
yes. You have this soft energy to you. Definitely the softer, more calmer energy and approach. So, but
Thank
you
you.
also have the initiative one, which is great, the masculine side. So it's just, you don't just have to sit and wait there for things to come to you.
Yeah. Mostly I just sit around and wait though.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding? You serious?
Yeah, it's an issue for me. I'm thinking, yeah, this is actually my second one. My second most important thing to do is kind of segues into this and why I would say that. How I would read that out of my chart.
Uh-huh.
My second, is it okay? Can I go to my
Yes, yes,
second? My
yes.
second thing is I call the two people in the elevator technique. And this is the basic technique for interpreting anything. Like if you want to interpret Mars in Libra, or if you want to interpret Mars in the seventh house, or Mars in Libra in the seventh house in a chart that also has Venus in Aries in the first house. You know, no matter how deep you start going, the same technique you'll be using is consider these two factors like two people, stick them in an elevator and make the elevator stop for an hour.
Uh-huh.
Right. So what would happen if there was two people stuck in an elevator for an hour? They would be forced to interact with each other. They would have to talk to each other.
Uh-huh.
But they will find out what they agree on and what they disagree on. And
Uh-huh.
they're not really going to care. They're going to skip all the stuff that only one party cares about. Right? Like if one party really it loves Donald Trump and the other one doesn't give a damn about politics, that's not going to go anywhere, that conversation.
Mhm.
But if one of them loves Donald Trump and the other one loves Donald Trump, they're going to have a great time in the elevator for an hour.
Uh-huh.
But if one of them loves Donald Trump and the other one hates Donald Trump, it's going to be a bloodbath, right? For an hour and a So like that with planets, let's take, for example, Venus. Let's see, for me, what do I got going there? All right, so actually, let's take the fact that I'm physically male.
Mhm.
So if I have a lot of feminine energy in my chart, but I'm physically male, that's another factor. Also, even though it's not in a chart, the fact that I'm physically male. So you have to put those two things in the elevator and see how it works. So
Uh-huh.
it doesn't quite go good. Like women who have female, predominantly female charts kind of like hit the jackpot. And men that have male dominant charts, not totally, not exclusively male, but like male primarily charts, they kind of hit the jackpot. But
Yeah.
those of us who have kind of like these crossovers, we
Yeah.
have issues to deal with because it's not normal. Like it's not the
Yes.
way everything functions in everyday life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's why you'll get like now it's easy to see classical definitions of like, ooh, Mars and Libra. All the classical authors are like, well, this makes a person kind of like hesitate and wait and be kind of unbrave or something, but they may be really into arts and they may be really fashionable and things like that. But why? Why are they thinking that way? Why do these guys come up with ideas? Because it's the male symbol Mars in the Venus's sign,
Yes.
right? So even though it's a male numbered planet sign, but it belongs
Fine.
to a female, that's another one that will complicate your system more. But you put you know, it doesn't quite jive on that. So
Mhm.
that's what I do for everything. I want to say like Saturn in the sixth house, it
Mhm.
jives. These guys would get along well together, the sixth house, if it was a person and Saturn.
Yes.
But Saturn in the fourth house doesn't jive as well because the fourth house is just like a different type of personality. It's very soft and but it jives in some ways. Privacy, like also, so you'll find out that some part of the time together in the elevator will be nice, and at other times they'll be arguing.
Yes.
So there's something about Saturn which is private, and there's something about the fourth house which is private. So they can meet over there and have it. They can have cookies over there.
Little bit.
In the part where Saturn is tough and the fourth house is gentle, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this I'm not enjoying this time together."
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. That's again requires thinking on our part, but that's where the best results come. The
Yeah, you
most
have to think.
insightful. Two
Yeah,
people in the elevator. Cool. I
yeah.
remember that. Okay, so my second one is again very simple. Do the same count for you have predominantly earth, water, fire, or air. People forget that, and sometimes the best and clearest answers I have given to clients on some issues that they have been based on the elements. I'll have a client who comes and says, I don't feel motivated, I don't have energy, or someone who says, I don't have, I don't know what I really want. I don't have passion for anything. Why is that? And you start looking and wondering, and you see the sun in the 10th house. They should be kind of clear about what they want, but you see they have no fire, absolutely no fire in their horoscope. And you realize that it's hard for them to access that energy. And actually, if you have no sign, no element, either fire, water, earth, or air, there's two ways that it can play out. Either you kind of really don't have access to that easily, or you the other extreme, you overdo it because of sense of trying to compensate. But there is always something off with that element that is totally missing in your horoscope. So pay attention. Not everyone is like that. A lot of people have a bit of everything. Again, they're more balanced, a little bit of here, there. But there are some very interesting people that the biggest issues will rotate around that they have one element lacking while predominance of another one.
Mm.
Or I'll have someone who will be all over the place emotionally. They when someone dies, they wouldn't cry, or when the smallest thing happens, they'll get emotionally in a funk. And and you look at their horoscope, they have no water. They don't know how. Sometimes they're over emotional. Sometimes they're like, it's, and you kind of start wondering that they don't have access to that element. So they either go too much or too little. Or the same with no earth. These people will either make lots of money and be super obsessed with financial material things because to try to fill in that lack, or at moments, and sometimes in the same person it happens in their life, they will sometimes have moments where they have no money. So they're totally out of control with that element, and they don't know what to do with it, and then they overcompensate and they achieve super much. And there is something that people that study human design will understand: it undefined centers in human design, they don't have energy. Basically it's like having no element, no planets in certain element in your horoscope. And it can manifest both ways. You can either be like really not in touch with that area, just like people with no earth can be hypochondriacs. They don't understand their body, and every small pain they think they're dying, or they think it's cancer or something. I have no earth, so I speak from experience. And then they can get overly obsessive with material things at moments. And that undefined energy has limitless possibilities. You can, the sky's the limit with it, but at the same time you can be very so it's kind of either one extreme or the other with it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to watch those things. Or
Mm.
someone with lots of air, for example. I've had when I've been at school, and this girl in my school, she never took notes, and she remembered everything, she understood everything so clearly. She had lots of air in her
Mm.
horoscope. So pay attention to that, and you can find really easy answers to questions. For example, why am I not organized? I have problems with money. Well, you have no, sometimes it's, you have no earth. It doesn't mean you will always be like that, but this is something you have to consciously strive towards, because it's not part of your makeup, so to speak. So you have to incorporate some, tools to help you deal with that element, or someone with lack of water, that's so hard to deal with their feelings. They need to find ways to soothe their feelings. So lack of fire, you need to create some fire in your life. You need to get more sun, and you need to do a bit exercise, because fire creates fire, so to speak, a bit of
Mm.
movement. And there are different tricks, but sometimes some big things can be answered with such simple questions.
Yeah. And how would you count it? Similar to how you count the
Yeah,
male
I'll
female?
give importance to the ascendant, sun, and moon, and the ascendant ruler, and then check the other planets as well. Uh,
Great.
do
Great.
you
I
have
love that.
a lacking element?
Well, I think my air might a little bit lack, but I think if you do it carefully, if you do a count, see, also if you take what I did, another way that I learned a lot of practicalities, like technical techniques, was take things like the two things that you've talked about already. Because I found those also in the old Vedic texts. Those are like, they call those Sankhya yogas.
Oh
So
yes,
these are yogas where you have to count things up.
yes,
And they're great. They're
absolutely.
so cool. They do this the same thing with the modes. They'll do the same thing with the just the number of signs occupied. I love that yoga. Do you know that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
It's so useful. It's really useful.
yes.
You just look at a chart and say, "Oh, there's 4 signs occupied. This person is really kind of either too practical or totally impractical." Right.
Yes.
And there's 5 signs occupied. They're either too oblivious to beauty and love, or that's the only thing that they care about in their life. Everything is just about beauty and love.
So it's
You know, so
again, either one or the yeah.
yeah, like you said about the extremes. So yeah, I think so. You started to like you have to give more weight to the ascendant, Lord, etc. If you do my chart carefully like that, and you also count in like the elements included in the subvargas, in the
Oh,
subdivisions of the sign.
that will be
Yeah,
complicated.
then it comes out pretty balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also I think the way that I went with this elemental thing is I want to see the elements balance with each other in a chart. So if there's one that's like it's like relative to each other in the chart, it's not like an absolute thing. This person has one fire sign and that other person has one fire sign. So it's the same interpretation. It's like relative when you tally up the whole thing, if they're all kind of equal, then the person's super balanced. But if there's one element that's standing out either too much or too little,
Mhm,
then it
mhm.
becomes
That's when I use it.
right.
Otherwise, people that have kind of balance like you, and you see it on them. Even like there's kind of a bit more balance energy around them, rather than
Yeah,
people that have absolutely no water and no earth. And you can see it. I'm restless. These are the feminine energies. I'm
yeah,
restless. I'm all the time hectic. And people say, "Why do you touch yourself? You make me feel nervous." Well, I'm sorry. So
yeah,
it's and you see it clearly, or someone who has just water on earth, yeah, unless Mars is on the ascendant or something, but even then they'll be like so much more zen inside. They might be feeling different way, but you kind of
yeah,
see it so clear. All right, so that is 4 so far. One, two,
yeah. So now
yours.
it's up to me again for my third. Let's see, what did I have as my note for my third? Aha. Okay, so my third technique is to use the first two that I gave you, but
Great.
to use them in a certain way. So the first thing I said was to be super clear about what everything does and doesn't symbolize. And the second thing I said was to use two people in an elevator. So the third thing I'll say is now that you know this, you know your planets and signs and so forth, and you know how to combine them. Here's the interesting, my third technique is how to like do meta combinations. So I would say like, think about the difference between atoms and molecules. Atoms are combinations of these tiny little parts, and then molecules are combinations of those things. So my third technique is how do you combine atoms? Like in astrology, let's say um, Venus and Venus and Virgo is an atom. The interpretation from that is an atom, and then Venus in the ninth house could also be an atom. But now, how do you make a molecule of those two atoms?
Uh-huh.
Right. So that's the third thing. When you still use the same technique, but now here's this like way of thinking of what you're doing is atoms, molecules, and you can build like tissue out of that molecule. When you combine those when you combine molecules together, and then you can get an organ eventually in a whole body. So my suggestion is it's most important to do this on the ascendant, like your rising sign. Everybody talks about rising. What's your rising sign? What's your moon sign? What's your sun sign? Here is the first stop. Like here's the first place where you want to start doing these meta interpretations. My moons, for example, my moon sign is Gemini. My rising sign is Capricorn,
Uh-huh.
and my sun sign is Leo.
Yes.
So if moon sign Gemini, you might be like, well, huh, party people, talky people, chatty people, fluffy people, lighthearted people, maybe genius people, maybe quick thinkers, but it's moon, Gemini, you know? So it's more like emotionally light, bubbly.
Uh-huh.
Well, what about this guy? He seems so serious and he seems kind of, and my whole thing on the YouTube is like, "Brr," get into
Yes.
debates with people and, so what's this moon and Gemini thing? But take that moon and Gemini, put it in an elevator with Sun and Leo
Uh-huh.
and Capricorn ascendant.
Uh-huh.
So what's happening is that Gemini thing is getting moon and Gemini is getting squashed into a certain corner of that elevator
Uh-huh.
where certain things that are compatible with Leo and compatible with Capricorn can come out, like being
Yes.
like being a quick thinker or something. Like Capricorn will find that useful.
Yes.
'Cause Capricorn wants to be organized and wants to be
Uh-huh.
practical, right?
Yes.
And Leo wants to be great, wants to be the best,
Yes.
right? So cool. Moon and Gemini can come up with all kinds of inventive ideas, and then Astrolada can give me a compliment on YouTube, and I can feel awesome, right? So it works like that. You take your ascendant and your moon sign and your sun sign and put them together. Don't just think of them as separate things.
Yes.
If you're into Vedic astrology, do this with the nakshatras, especially for the ascendant and the moon. It's super cool. It's super useful with that. What's your ascending nakshatra? What's your moon's nakshatra? Don't think of them as two different things. Now, these are the two things that have to work together to form the bedrock, the basis of your whole interpretation of the chart.
So
So
you have
figure
to
that.
find the things that they actually can work together in. And that way you can help your life to fulfill its mission or for you to unfold as a person with more ease. Rather
Yeah,
than look how they clash together, trying to find the common ground for those.
yeah. It depends on your personality as an interpreter.
Yes, depends what your purpose
Yeah,
is.
some people can not do good with negative things. Like some astrologers are awful when it comes to negative stuff, and they should just stay away from negative stuff.
Mhm.
But is it like? But sometimes, if you're a doctor, you have to tell the person, well, you have a heart, disease, and you have 6 months to live, and that's important information for you to give that person. As a
Yeah.
right, so sometimes as an astrologer, you can't always just like be rosy but you
Yes.
have to know. So sometimes you do have to look for the clashes because this person is coming to you and saying, I don't understand why I have this problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you have to find like the cause of their problem and then explain it to them. But if you do it in a kind way, and if you do it in like if you do it with the ultimate attitude, well, look, you're doomed,
Yes.
then that's awful. But if you do it with the attitude, like, here's the clue, this is the clue to tell us what we're going to work on, how we're going to change and what's wrong and how it can be better, then you should also look for the clashes too, not just the samenesses. Look for
Absolutely.
the clashes too, because that shows you where you have a wart or
Mhm.
something, and or where you got dirt, and then you can know that you have to clean it.
Yeah. I know very well because I'm Libra Aries dominant. So should I go? Should I wait?
Uh,
Should I evaluate everything from one
yeah.
side? Sometimes it's. So I have to figure out what is the common thread between Aries and Libra and try and work
Hmm.
with those things. All right, great. So making
What's your third?
my third one, I continue with the simple techniques,
Good.
is the modalities. Check
Nice.
out the modalities. Do you have fixed, mutable, or cardinal? As they call them also changeable in Vedic astrology, I think. But cardinals are Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra. So you have a majority of planets, or a bit more, in cardinal signs. They basically, such people, you'd see that they have a lot of big changes happen in their life. for example, they might suddenly decide at 30 to live in another country, at 50 to start a new career, at 60 to marry again, such kind of cardinal changes. And there are people that come up with a lot of new things, because cardinal planets, they want to, this is exactly when the seasons change, the cardinal signs. So in the same way, people have a lot of cardinal energy, they change very fast and sudden, and in a totally new direction. So they'll come up with new ideas very often and things like that. But also you can see that their life is not very stable, because they have a lot of sudden changes in life when they have a lot of cardinality. If they don't have some fixity, they will not have follow through. They'll start things and not end. And actually, it seems that such people are do better when they live in foreign countries with a lot of cardinal signs.
Mm.
And because there's like they change a lot, and they do better and they succeed better far away, while people with fixed signs, a lot of fixity, this can be people that are pillars of society, that their life gradually, improves more and more. Of course, the exceptions, but usually you'd see them living in the same community they were born, but just getting better positions there and whatever. They like their stability, but often if they have big problems, they're the ones it takes them the longest to change, and the hardest. But once they change, they're forever in that direction as well. And fixed people as well, they have a lot of substance. It's like someone with like they way heavier at their place. Like for example, someone with Sun in Leo, like you, is there is a strong, fixed sign. They just have more gravitas, or I don't know, this because fixed signs are stable, fixed, and they weigh more at their place, and they're great at. Cardinals are great at initiating things and giving ideas. Fixed people with predominant fixed, they're great at starting something and carrying on forever, and execution. They're very good at making it kind of once they started, continuing it, building upon it, growing it. And the mutable signs, they're like that when the seasons are changing, basically, the last month of each sign, of each season. Well, they're good on improving on things, on taking something that already exists and not dismantling it like cardinals and starting all over and doing something new, but taking what the cardinals have created, the new idea, and the fixed, and they have developed that idea, and the mutable coming and saying, well, something here doesn't work perfect, let me make it better. So improving on something, they're very good at improving on things, not necessarily starting totally new, not necessarily always continuing in the same mode and direction that the fixed do, but always getting better and better. And they're known as the human signs, basically. So they kind of like humans, they adapt better, and they take something that is uh, that is and improve it like what humans do.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my other simple technique. Number 3.
Awesome. Great. So now it's my turn again.
Yes, number 4.
What's my fourth? I have to remind myself of my notes. Oh, so if I would say these are also the 5 things that I use the most, right?
Mhm.
So the first thing that I rely on the most is how clearly I actually know the planets, the signs of the houses. Second thing I rely on is this whole technique of how to put 2 things together. Third thing is to do it first with the basic background of the chart. So, ascendant, sun and moon. Then the fourth thing is the lordships are so useful and important. Yeah. But I think that the modern house systems may have screwed this up.
Yes.
Like sometimes I wonder, like I look at modern astrology because mostly my head is way in the past.
Mhm.
Like mostly I don't give a damn about what people are doing these days. I just really want to know what these guys were doing, the guys who mastered it and invented it, and you know what I mean? And when it was still like at its roots. That's what I'm really
But
interested
it
in.
was given directly from above, basically, with the
Yeah, when
instruction
it first came
manual.
popped out of the sky.
Yes.
So, but at other times I look at modern astrology and I say, why did it get this way? Like, why did it become what it is today? And that's also really interesting. So I noticed that one of the things that's lacking in the modern techniques if a totally modern astrologer sits down and does a reading, one of the things that I would notice is almost absent from their interpretations compared to like if a traditional, um, hang on, something popped up. If it's compared to a traditional read, like if a traditional astrologer in India sat down and gave me a reading, or if like a modern Western person sat down and gave me a reading, one of the most glaring differences would be the guy or girl from India would be talking about fifth lord in this, fourth lord in this, third, 12th, combination of eighth and third. Constantly, that's all they'd
Yeah,
be talking about the whole time. And
absolutely.
the modern person would be talking all about aspects
Yeah.
and stuff,
Being
and
a
would
house. Yeah.
maybe never mention even the house that even much about what house things are in that much
Yeah.
and what to speak. But to me, the fourth most important thing, which is like super important still, right,
Mhm.
is lordships. But I recommend people do the lordships with the whole sign system.
That's what I
Okay.
know. Yes.
Yeah. So whole sign is just real simple. Whatever your ascendant is, whatever your rising sign is your first house. And whatever the next sign is the second house. Whatever the third sign from your rising sign is your third house. It's that simple.
Yeah. And I even read on your Facebook that you said when you do a reading, you'd be mostly talking 40%, 50, 70% of the time, Lord of the first, in the second with the fifth. This is
Yeah.
what you hear me talking. And I just did a course on lordships, and it's fascinating the details that you can see with that. I mean, for example, Lord of the third in the 12th, or with the 12th Lord, it can mean you lose your sibling or he goes to live abroad. I mean, you can see such
Yeah.
specific things.
Yeah. Very.
Not like, you have some emotional predisposition to communicating in an obscure way.
Yeah.
So it gives specific things, and this you can see only with lordships.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Because now it becomes really now it's like a imagine like a tarot card deck that's just so amazingly easy to read because like the pictures are like pointing at other pictures and telling you how to connect them. So that's what it's like with lordships. Like actually, just things are pointing at other things because you're looking at where, like, let's say if you have the Lord of the seventh and the 12th, because I'm doing compatibility research right now.
Mhm.
So I'm finding a lot of people with difficult relationships. The individuals involved in the relationship have the seventh Lord in the 12th house, like more than half the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen that, but that's only in whole sign system,
Yeah.
not yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen in these other house systems, but definitely in a whole sign system. But think about the symbolism of that. It's so easy to read. 12th house is loss, 7th house is marriage. You got an arrow going from 7 to 12. Or even if the arrow, in this case, even if the arrow goes from, if the 12th Lord comes to the 7th, you'll come with basically the same interpretation.
Yeah. But
And it's that easy.
absolutely. But what would you say to such a person? Is there a way out? How
Like that goes back to what we were talking about before. Like now it's the personality of the interpreter and the heart and the intention of the interpreter. The whole context that you set before you go into this detail is important too. The context that you give the person, like, look, we're going to work on your life now.
Mhm.
So don't be scared if we talk about the parts that are weak
But do
because
you
that's
believe
gonna,
that it can be overcome and such a person can still have a manifest relationship after pain?
yeah. So this is what I noticed the first day I started trying to learn astrology was, God, this could mean anything. That's what
Exactly.
it felt like to me, right? Like seventh lord in the 12th house. I don't know. It could mean well. Let me think of something more obvious. Like your sun sign is Cancer. Your sun is in Cancer. There's 100 different books out
Mhm.
written on what the sun in Cancer means, and none of them is really exactly the same at all.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's because it could mean a whole bunch of different things when you put two symbols together.
Yeah.
So the way that I go about resolving difficult things is what else could the seventh lord in the 12th house mean?
Hey, perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. So
Besides this one,
so they manifest something less painful, but with the same
with the same combination, the same
combination.
destiny. They have the same destiny, but
Yeah.
they can play it in this way.
So yeah, foreign partner or
Yeah.
partner
Foreign
abroad,
partner you could marry.
partner who works in a hospital. So,
Yeah. Right. Or
uh-huh.
maybe, okay, forget about maybe marriage. Let's not even focus on marriage because the seventh house, actually, seventh house, one of the cool things is seventh house is the destination. This is an old symbolism of the seventh because it's the western horizon. The
Uh-huh.
seventh house is actually the western side. The first sign is the rising sign. The seventh one from it is the setting sign.
Uh-huh.
So the whole basis of the symbolism of the seventh house is it's the sunset.
Well,
And
yeah.
so it does actually work with the 12th really well. And this is probably also why a lot of people are coming to astrologers with bad relationships, because they're also into astrology.
Yes.
Because they have the seventh lord in the 12th house, they get interested in abstract things, foreign things, exotic things. They do well with moving around a lot. They want to move. They want to go to a different country. So, and then things will work out. Go ahead. Go on a vacation. Go to a far away place. You'll probably meet a nice marriage partner there.
Wow. So the seventh lord is like a destination, almost like a second
Yeah,
ascendant ruler, where you're
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that
And people don't know this about the 10th house too. But the 10th house is opposite the fourth.
hmm
So the fourth is the one that roots you. It's the one that's below the ground, and it keeps you domiciled. It keeps you at home. It keeps you in your room. But the 10th house is the one that sends you out.
yes.
So, like a lot of people who live in different countries than where they were born also have a combination of 12th to 10th, 12th to 7th, 7th to 10th. Things like that, like 10th Lord in the 12th, or 12th Lord in the 10th, or
Uh-huh.
7th in the 12th, or 12th in the 7th.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes, connections between those. Yeah.
They relocate and they are able to stay there, and it's positive for them.
Hmm. Ah, thank you. That's that's a great technique.
Yeah,
So,
so that's the technique is use lordships. Lordships are great and kind of very easy to use
and use
intuitively.
call sign. Can I ask you to use midheaven?
I love the midhaven.
How
I
do you?
don't use it that much,
Mhm.
but every time anybody ever says midhaven and I look at it, I go, wow, that's useful. I don't
Mhm.
use it just because I haven't changed my calculations in years, and
Yeah.
it's just I had never put the midhaven into the calculations, but I love the midhaven. I think it's a very important point
Yes, because important things with Korean public image happen when it goes there.
for
So,
sure.
like some point of manifestation there that we can. And even if the midheaven, if it's not in the 10th sign from the ascendant, it's still when the 10th sign is being influenced, it manifests in regards to career, whatever it is. But then when the midheaven gets influenced by transit or whatever, again, it does. So
Yeah,
I use them both. Perfect. Thank you. Lordships, guys. That's basically, if you learn just lordships, you'll do better astrology than most astrologers in the world. That's what I know for sure.
yeah.
Okay,
And
so
you'll get closer to like the true original form of what astrology was when it started.
yes, because that's what they use primarily.
Yeah. Okay, what about you? So now it's your turn for number 4.
Look how how mixed up mine are now. Yours progressed.
Yours
Mine
too?
jumps around. Mine fourth one is about the part of fortune. Many people forget it, but because I started getting more into Arabic astrology, Hellenistic, and I've been working with quite a few charts using that. The part of fortune is the combination between the sun, moon, and ascendant. Basically, you take the distance from the sun to the moon and add it to the ascendant. For night birds, for day birds, there are different ways. People born during the day, it's from the moon to the sun or something like that, and you add it to the ascendant. But people can just go to astro.com, go to the extended chart selection, or go to astrotheme.com. It has your part of fortune date. It's calculated, and it's symbolized by a circle with an X in the middle, the part of fortune. So that's the combination that the ancient people were using a lot, the Hellenistic astrology. That was the focus. It was like a second ascendant or a second, like a combination of, they considered even more important than individually the sun and the moon and the ascendant, because it combined the three of them. And I've noticed transits to it work amazingly. But what it is that wherever it is in your horoscope, you can create, it can be this house and sign can be source of fortune for you. And it's so simple and it's so clear. And I even started wondering about people that I know in my life and thinking, okay, where would this person have their part in fortune? So, for example, my older brother, he is fortunate by playing poker, and he's won lots of money, like 40,000 in a game and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, his part of fortune must be in the fifth, gambling. I go and part of fortune is in the fifth. My younger brother is fortunate through me because I employ him, work, I send him everything. I'm his fortune. His part of fortune falls in the house of siblings, older siblings. So, then my best friend, she's fortunate. Okay, one best friend, she's fortunate through investments in a foreign country and through secret relationships. And I was like, should be in the 12, bam, in the 12th. So
Mm.
it's very clear. Whatever it is, mine is in the ninth household sign. I'm fortunate through teaching and in, again, foreign countries, but I'm fortunate through higher knowledge and through, this is all, and it's conjunct Saturn. But if you want to get more into it, see what planets it's conjunct, but that planet can become fortunate for you. So older age, for example, if Saturn rules your fifth house, your children can become a source of fortune for you. Whatever planet whatever planet, what house that planet rules, and what house the part of fortune is in, it will create more fortune through that area of your life.
Is this the same? Is it lot of fortune is the same as part of fortune, or are they
Yeah,
the same?
it's the same
Okay.
lot of fortune and part of fortune. Yeah, and I
Okay, I
started
can't wait to
a lot
find
of,
out mine.
yeah, more even for relationships now. And it's cool. The ancient Hellenistic technique and the Arabs were using it. The ancient Arabic astrology. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, I can't wait to go check mine and my midhaven. I think my midhaven is conjunct something too. Yeah, these things are really useful. That's another thing about me as an astrologer. I stick to things that work.
Yes, me too. I'm practical. I want to
Yeah.
see.
So I do have like a to-do list of like, wow, these things look interesting. I should like use these in the future, but I'm slow to get to my to-do list because the things that I'm already doing are working for me. And
I know
yeah,
exactly. And sometimes when you add too many things, it becomes a super game.
yeah. And that's
I
the worst part, right?
soup.
Yeah, the worst thing as an astrologer is when you have a soup and you feel like you can't even make sense of it. Okay, so it's the time for my fifth and final one.
Yes.
Oh yeah, this is a good one, and also simple and also quite an ancient technique. Use the moon, and it's like you're talking about secondary ascendants a lot. So in Indian astrology, they actually do have a lot of that, and they have something very similar to parts and lots. But they usually call them literally like other ascendants, Arudha Lagna, and all these different kind of lagnas, and that they can be calculated in a very similar way to how you described
Yeah,
the taking of degrees from other points and adding it to.
very similar actually. Yeah.
So but the real basic thing that they use is the moon, the Chandra Lagna. Their tech. I'll give you the full technique. Actually, is there's the Udaya Lagna, which means the rising. Lagna is like the thing that's anchoring, holding something together. So they call because the Lagna, the ascendant, anchors the whole. All the houses are anchored on it.
Hmm.
So therefore, the whole chart is anchored on this, and so it's called a lagna. It holds it in place.
Uh-huh.
And then the rising one is called uday lagna. It's the rising anchor. Then they have other lagnas. So they got a chandra lagna, the using the moon as the anchor point, and then they have
Yeah.
surya lagna using the sun as an anchor point, and then they have this technique called the sudarshan, which means a really good vision, where you make a wheel or a chakra on the sudarshan, a really good vision. So what you do is you take the suns, the moons, and the ascendants, and you put them on a tri-wheel. This is the ancient Indian
Ah,
technique to use a tri-wheel.
what is
So
a tie wheel?
yeah, you use a tri-wheel. So like, let's say the inner wheel will be a standard. Put the ascendant on the top if you like, or put it at 9 o'clock if you like.
Mhm.
And then the second wheel would be the moon. The same
And
chart with the moon, but put the moon where the ascent. Rotate the whole thing so the moon is in the first
on
house,
the ascendant, and then the
and
sun
third
is on the
third
ascendant.
is the sun, and now you got all your houses lined up. So
Ah,
Parashar gives that technique,
yeah.
and probably others use it. It's like pretty
Because in the Western
ubiquitous.
world, we use a lot the sun as an ascendant because everyone checks their sun sign, and when we do like monthly predictions, we say, well, Jupiter is going into the seventh sign from the sun, help from relationships. But in Vedic astrology, it's the moon that they use mostly.
Yeah, but also the sun. But they want the moon to be more. The basic theory is the faster the thing moves,
The more personal.
the more personal it gets. So that even more than the moon is the ascendant, But the moon is the most easiest.
Yeah.
The way that they socialized or popularized their astrology in India was to take it to the level of the moon. The way that we did it in the West in modern times is to take it all the way out to the sun.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's even easier. It could be more mass produced when it's with the sun.
Yes, because it's just once a month that it
Yeah.
changes. And I think a lot of people actually can identify a lot with the sun in the West because the sun is more kind of like free will, masculine attitude, go getter, and a lot of people in the West have this. Well, the moon is more feminine, but
Mm,
I've seen in my chart that transits from the moon indicate the most important events in my life
mm,
so clearly. It's
yeah.
like I got property when Jupiter was transiting the fourth from the moon. There were other things as well, other techniques, but they're so much more complicated. This is just so simple. Check your
Yeah.
prediction from the moon. Check your
Yeah.
check your whole horoscope from the moon. They say if you
Right.
have Venus in the seventh from the moon, it can describe a partner in your life, someone
Right.
Venusian. That's very, very, yeah. I always look for relationships also the seventh from the moon to see how they feel about their partner, how
Mm,
is their emotional approach towards the partner.
right. You took the words right out of my mouth. Like this moon chart is really good for seeing how you feel about the subjects of the houses. So take the seventh house from the moon. It's your subjective. It has nothing to do with the objective facts. Maybe.
Yeah,
Often it does because often you're perceiving something real,
yeah.
but it may or may not have to do with the objective facts. It may just be this is just how you feel about your love life, the seventh, the fifth, your problems, your chores, the sixth house from the moon.
Yes, exactly. You can look from the sixth from the moon, from the 10th from the moon. How fulfilled emotionally do you feel about your career? 10 from the moon.
Hmm.
So it's a great. I love this technique. It's
I-
guys use that one. It's very
okay.
good.
What about you? What's your final fifth?
I was wondering between two. One was rectification that can happen very easy with Mars, transit of Mars. They always usually a lot of other transits. Sometimes you don't feel them, or later or earlier. They're not on time. But Mars transits are like bam, within a degree. And if Mars is transiting your ascendant, and you're not sure, maybe you're born 10 minutes earlier or later, your mom wasn't sure, or 20, and you have a fight today, check, put Mars on your ascendant and you rectify it because Mars transit, so Mars is squaring your ascendant or something like that, and you have a fight or you feel irritable or you stump your toe or you hurt yourself somehow, little accident. That's what I've been, because I'm not good at rectification. It's so complex using hundreds of life events, and I do it very fast like that. And sometimes I'll tell to a client who doesn't know their time of birth, and I'll say a Mars transit is coming, and I want you to tell me which of those next 2 weeks you basically get something martial happens, and they tell me, and then I start using this chart, and bam, this is
Hmm.
their very exact time of birth. So it works fantastic this way.
So interesting. I'm going to try that too.
Yeah. Well, there we go, guys. We were fast. That was so interesting.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Thank you
You know
so.
what's weird? I started this interview at 6:50 in the morning my time, and I felt like really I was quite aware that it was 6:50 in the morning. But as soon as we got rolling, I had no idea what time it is now. As far as I know, it could be like 6:50 p.m. right now.
It's an hour and 10 minutes have passed,
Wow.
by the way. Yeah,
But
we
it was
went
very timeless.
relative times, we got like time was displaced here. I
Yeah.
felt that. Thank you so much, Vic. Guys, check out Vic's YouTube, subscribe. He has amazing videos. He's very consistent. He actually uses good effects there. It's not just press a button, record. It's fun to watch as well, but the knowledge is amazing, and it comes from his soul. It's not just regurgitated things. He told you how he works, so he thinks a lot on. He's a epitome of the wise person. You said Jupiter is the strongest planet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jupiter.
it's 10th house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vic. I look forward to have you again soon with other interesting interviews and topics. And have a lovely day.
Thank you. Have a lovely night. Is it night?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.